Welcome back to the show, The Unbroken. I am your host, Sam Davis. As always, it is wonderful to be before you today. And this episode is brought to you by Burning Tree Recovery Ranch. It is the only true, authentic, long-term inpatient treatment center for the reluctant to recover. Happens to be where I got sober. And I've interviewed several of their staff and the owner and founder. And I've got Olivia Wilder here today with me. And we're going to talk about some things that keep families stuck and some barriers that families face with their loved ones trying to achieve long-term sobriety. Olivia Wilder is the Director of Admissions for Burning Tree Programs, where she guides families through the uncertainty of addiction with clarity, compassion, and direction. After finding her own lasting recovery at Burning Tree Ranch in 2014, Olivia turned her experience into purpose, building a career dedicated to helping others find the same freedom. With years of experience across multiple treatment settings and specialized training in family systems, intervention, and crisis communication, she brings both professional expertise and personal understanding to every family she serves. And I have the honor of having her right here on the sofa today. So we're just going to dive right in it. Olivia, thank you for being here today. Glad to have you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you got quite the bio.
Yes.
More than qualified to talk about the subject that we're going to talk about today.
Yes. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So how did you end up at Burning Tree? Let's go into that a little bit. Like what'd that journey look like? That's for the reluctant to recover. They're the Navy SEALs of treatment centers. Mm-hmm. You were not your average addicted individual, were you?
No. And, I thought I was. I would say it started when I was, 14, 15, experimenting. Went into my first treatment program at age 18, 30-day program. Went into, sober living, went to college, didn't do well in college. Went to another treatment program. I've been to about 6, I would say.
6 total inpatient treatment programs. Did you ever have sobriety in between?
I did, yes. So I had a year at one point. It was a very, uncomfortable, sad year, to be honest. It was, I really isolated myself. I truly wanted to be sober. I had all the knowledge. I studied addiction in college, hoping to, learn more about it so I could stop it. I had the best intention, but for whatever reason, of course I had the best intention, but I did not follow through with the action, that I was told to do. I thought I had better ideas. I thought I was smarter. I thought I could beat it this way or that way, study through it. And, I just kept cycling in and out. And it would be, and this is a lot of people's stories, but it was just like one day it sounded like a good idea again.
The old threadbare idea.
That's
this
right.
time I'm going to be able to manage it and control it.
That's
Even
right.
though you don't have an experience, it shows you that.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what the head tells you.
Yes.
And you're going to buy that lie.
Yes. Or this will help me, study in school, or this will help me make friends, whatever lies I was telling myself. I definitely believed, and I did not believe that they were lies at the time.
And then that landed you in Burning Tree.
It did. Yes.
What was that experience like when you first went into Burning Tree? Did you know what you were getting into? Did you want to go? What was that like?
So I actually did know what I was getting into. At the time, I had been hiding my relapse for so long, and it was about to come to a head. And I reached out for help, and help was presented in the frame of Burning Tree. I was told, some of the program specifics. I was ready to go and get help. I truly was. And I also knew that at that time, I had drugged my family through so much pain and lies, and they had truly believed that I was doing well. And so it all came crashing down when they found out the truth. Shocking to me to even, talk about it now. I can't believe that was my life at one point.
Right.
Right? Like it progressed so quickly.
Right.
I landed at Burning Tree. I knew at the time that I needed help. I wanted to live. I didn't want to live this isolated life that I had created because I know what it always led to. And I didn't know how to live sober. Like I said, I always intended to be sober and really truly wanted to. I wanted to do well. I wanted, to graduate college, to have a family, to be successful, all the dreams. But, again, just a constant cycle of relapse. And when I went to Burning Tree, my family was very clear that this is it. There is no leaving. This is the program that will help you. And again, I was willing at that time because I was so desperate and I was ready to be away for a long time too. I knew I needed significant help.
But were there times during your stay at Burning Tree where you were like, man, I want to get the hell out of here?
Oh, yes.
I got to go.
Yes, many times. And it started when I started feeling physically better, when I started looking, better, because, the drug I was using, I had torn my face apart, my body. And so once I started to physically feel better, those thoughts started creeping in of, I don't need to be here this long.
Not that long.
Not that long, yeah. Right. I can get through, a certain amount of time and I'll be fine. I'll go into sober living. I've done that before. I'll do it different this time. I know I can do it. Luckily, Burning Tree knows that that's going to come about for the clients. They expect clients to want to leave or to think that they can do it different again, because that's just what chronic relapse is. And, I knew that if I were to leave, I could definitely last on my own for a period of time. But at some point, I'm going to be on the streets using again. And I stayed. I worked through the uncomfortability. It was a lot of, treatment intervention from the staff, from my peers. My family never budged, never even hinted at a hesitation on their commitment, to Burning Tree and aligning with the staff. And that's really the reason why I kept my feet there.
Yeah. It's crucial.
It's crucial.
Mm-hmm. Teams really can only do what the family is willing to follow directions on and back up.
That's right. If I had heard even a hesitant comment from, my family, I would have taken that and I would have, spun it any way I could and gotten out of there.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think I needed it. It cycled in and out of, I don't think I need this. Oh, yes, I do need to be here. And I needed the time to truly be in a safe and protected place where I can learn different behaviors, different coping skills, how to be sober, work through different emotions. And I needed all the time I had there.
Yeah, definitely. I was crack cocaine, pills, and it's crazy to look back on that was my life, but it's equally as crazy to think that I sat my rear end in a chair in inpatient treatment for almost a year. I don't know how long you were there, but for almost a year, inpatient treatment, not extended care or anything, like inpatient treatment for almost a year. And that's crazy to me to think about, but I needed every single day of it. And I think it's equally as telling of actually how crazy I was that I needed that.
Right.
I was insane. But if you would have asked me before I went, I remember a couple of weeks before I went, my wife at the time said, hey, don't you think you need to go to rehab? And I'm like, nah. I was smoking crack in a shed, looking up through some slits in the board,
Yes.
But I do remember walking in and 2 days in, going into the cafeteria, into the dining hall, and they had all the sober dates of everybody that was there. And the one up top that had been there the longest was 18 months. And I'm like, I'm on day 2. Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to die here. There's no way I'll ever leave. I'm never getting out.
Right.
And I'm not trying to paint an ugly picture of it because it totally changed my life and all the things that they were doing in there. I got to think, and once I started to get some freedom and gain some clarity, I was like, why weren't other treatment centers that I went to, why didn't they do things like this?
Right.
Because it's effective. There's intention to everything that they do. And now you're a part of the team there. When did you come on at Burning Tree?
January of 2019.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
How was it when you first walked in the door as a staff member? Weren't you like, I can't believe this is happening?
Yes, it was mind-blowing, truly. It was mind-blowing. But I was, so grateful because Burning Tree saved my life, and how amazing I get to work at a program that I truly value and believe in, and saved me, saved my life.
And you get to sit behind the doors.
That's right.
Of the staffing that they do, that we were always a little worried about when
That's right.
during staffing day.
Yes.
You know, but their attention to detail with every client during that staffing, because I've sat in them before and just super impressed with the detail that they go through. Nothing slips through the cracks.
Nothing. Even a client who's, maybe walking back from group into the room and they pick up a piece of trash, and no one's there. They don't know that a staff member's watching. They pick up a piece of trash, they throw it away. Even those minimal behaviors that you would think were minimal is brought to the treatment team.
Yeah.
How is this client showing up outside of group? Have their behaviors and their attitudes, completely shifted. And, they look at everything 24/7. And it's all brought to the treatment team. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Devil's in the details.
That's right.
So your role now is you're speaking to families. I mean, that's your role, is to talk families through this.
Yes.
And the utmost integrity is how you operate. You and I have worked together. And, I was just so impressed at times when you say, well, we believe that the young man or the young woman is appropriate for us. The family's not appropriate for us at this time. They're not ready. I mean, you guys aren't out here trying to fill every bed. Y'all aren't, trying to just bring them in, bring them in. You're very particular about who you take, right? It's not a fit for everyone.
That's right.
But your role there now and your personal experience makes you just perfectly qualified to answer some questions here about, what are families, what's it getting in the way? Like, what are they doing and what do you see? So I'm going to ask you some questions.
I'm ready.
Let's get to this, right?
Okay.
Let's help some families out.
Yes.
What are the biggest emotional barriers you see families facing when they reach out? Fear, guilt, control. Like, can you give some examples? Like what do you see out here when they're calling, and what's getting in the way?
Sure. I would say when I first speak with a family, I'm trying to navigate where they are at in their process. So are they running on fear? Are they, running on control? Where are they at in regards to their loved one they're calling for? And a lot of it is they are terrified that their loved one is going to die. And, the actions they are taking, for them, it feels like it is completely out of love. I'll give some examples. Some families feel a sense of safety when they know where their loved one is. And so maybe they're not setting a boundary of their loved one can no longer live in the home with them because they're actively using. So they want their loved one in the home because they know where their loved one is, and it brings them a sense of safety. But really, it's fueling the addiction further. And it doesn't feel that way, and it's not the family's intention whatsoever. But it is the loved one is using in their home, has a safe place to use. Why would that loved one ever stop? And so it's about understanding where the family is at in the process, and giving some truth, to what they may believe is love, or they may believe is not running on fear, running on control, running on guilt, and trying to reframe that for them so they can see it.
Yeah, I see that all the time on my end as well. I had a mom yesterday. She said, I just can't. And she described her son and what he does on the day-to-day. There's nothing to see him passed out on the floor of the bathroom, or, see him not eating for days and days on end. And she's like, I just can't see him. I mean, if I was to ask him to leave, like, I just can't imagine him out there. I'm like, I'm scared he's going to die. I'm like, he's dying. He's literally dying before your eyes right now.
That's right.
Like in your home. It's happening.
That's right.
In real time right now. That which you fear has you clouded to the fact that right now you're watching it and you don't even realize it.
That's right. Exactly.
And I'd say by the time they get to places where they're calling, programs long-term, like for the reluctant to recover, the chronic relapse, the true chronic relapser, I've seen some that it seems like the fear is just kind of numb. It's like they just don't have any hope. None. They've been to treatment center after treatment center after treatment center, and even the individual. They just don't have any hope that it's ever going to work.
Right.
And then they've been financially, they've dumped thousands and thousands and oftentimes hundreds of thousands of dollars on their loved one, and they just don't feel any hope at all that it's going to work. How do you help them navigate that? What do you say?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it is learning more. What have they done, so far? And why do you think it hasn't worked yet? And trying to navigate what actions they've taken that have led really to the same result of just cycling in and out of treatment centers or relapsing or, whatever the case may be for their loved one. But also offering, a different approach. And we'll have families call who have said, they've tried everything. And so it's about navigating, okay, we know that you love this person so much, and that everything that you have tried is because you love them. However, what haven't you tried? And trying new things, it's uncomfortable. It doesn't always feel like the right thing to do. And so it's about helping them understand that, the actions they've been taking have been just, again, fueling their loved one's addiction. And helping them see, the truth behind that.
And as your CEO, as Brooke, my friend and brother in treatment, we were in treatment together. And as he said in his book, it's like, they tend to, when they say they've tried everything, they try everything that they feel is helpful. But
That's right.
What feels helpful is oftentimes not helpful.
That's right.
Like true help feels really, really, really uncomfortable.
Yes.
So what are some of the patterns that you see, that you notice in the families who've been in this battle for years and years and years? What are some patterns that you see? I can tell you for me, most of the main pattern that I see in families that have been dealing with this for a couple decades, oftentimes, is they don't know what the problem is. They don't truly know what addiction is. So if you don't fully understand what the problem is, how in the hell can you embrace a solution? And how can you even be a little bit comfortable with what the team is asking you to do if you don't fully understand what the problem is? Do you see that a lot, even with families who've been to multiple treatment centers, have been on this journey for a long time? Do you see that a lot as well? That the families just they don't know what's going on?
Yes, I see both sides. I see families who don't know, and then I see families who are they do know, but they're not willing to take a different step because they're scared. The families who don't know, it almost feels like, or they think that 30 days, 90 days, their loved one will go here and then all of a sudden they'll be fixed. Everything will be great. They can go back to their job. FMLA paperwork will be filed so that they can go straight back to their, employment and carry on with their lives. And that's not what recovery is. It takes a long time and consistent action, and truly a change of the entire family system if there's been enabling going on.
Yeah. How quickly or how difficult is it once you get their loved one into your play, once you have them, how difficult is it to get the family really bought in and on board with following every direction? Because look, let's just be real here. Burning Tree, like people that end up in Burning Tree, like if they don't do well and they go out here, they're not the ones that like end up in multiple treatment centers after that. It's usually death's coming to call for them.
That's right.
It's to that degree people that end up with y'all.
That's right.
Wouldn't you agree
with
that?
Yes. And we go through, a thorough assessment process on the front end, which you had mentioned. And we're not only ensuring that the client is an appropriate fit, that they're a chronic relapser, they've been through multiple programs, reluctant to recover, but we're also navigating to see if the family is a fit for us. And we will not accept a client if the family is not at the point where they're willing to set boundaries and hard boundaries, because we will not be successful with their loved one. Their loved one will leave and the cycle will continue, and we're not willing to, accept a client when we know that they're going to leave and the family is going to enable.
You're not going to enable that.
No,
you're not going to enable the family's enabling.
That's right.
And oftentimes I've wondered because you've turned people down.
Yes,
before.
many times.
I'm aware of some of those. Right? We're like, man, they're just not a fit at this time.
Mm-hmm.
They are. The family's not.
Right.
I wonder how often that is a blow to a reality check to the family. Is like, wait a minute, they won't accept us, not because of him or her, but because of us. Right. Have you ever seen that be like a wake up to them, where they're like, wait a minute, we're holy smokes here.
Yes.
And then will y'all reconsider at
we
that
will,
point after some time?
Yes. And usually what will happen is, we'll have a call from a family and their loved one clearly needs Burning Tree. They're at death's door. They need us, but the family is not ready. And usually what will happen is we will hear from that family a few months down the line, a year down the line. We've heard from families 5 years down the line. And unfortunately, 5 years from that initial call, the same thing has been happening for those 5 years. But finally, the family is ready to do something different. Yeah. And I say that, but I know and I have compassion that they truly felt like they were doing something different during those 5 years and they wanted to do something different. But until the family can reach the point where, some of those behaviors are able to be changed, we're just unwilling to consider them.
And what are some of the things that they continued to do? Mm-hmm. Like, what are some examples? What are some families doing out here that's keeping that ball moving?
Sure. I would say the biggest pattern is financial support and continuing to financially support their loved one. And it goes as, detailed as, paying their cell phone bill, paying for their car insurance, paying for their housing, paying for groceries, paying for a hotel because their loved one, got kicked out of the house or kicked out of sober living or whatever the case may be. But I would say that is the most prevalent and behavior that just continues to prolong, their loved one's relapse and chronic addiction.
So let me ask you, what are the most common misconceptions families have about what recovery should look like? Mm-hmm. And how does that hold them back?
Sure. That's a good question. I would say most of the misconceptions that I have heard, from families who are calling in is, okay, we just need a 30-day fix, or my loved one just needs, detox and to be separated and, then go back into, their life and they'll be better. Or, they need to immediately get back into their career. If they lose their career, they're not going to stay sober. If they lose their marriage, they're not going to stay sober. If they're away from their kids for X amount of time, they're not going to stay sober. And, the problem is, and what families are not seeing is that if they don't have significant time and, a change of family system, their loved one is not going to have the career or the kids or the job, they're not going to have that life because they're going to continue to be in addiction, cycling in and out of relapse, or they're going to be dead. And so, I would say that's the biggest one is it takes time, it takes structure, it takes uncomfortability from the family side. It's hard. It's hard for families to do that, and I understand that. And they have to reach a certain point to be able to do that.
Yeah, I see it all the time. The job, they can be away from the kids, or their career. And oftentimes it's not even a career, it's just a job.
That's right.
And like, oh, he's got to get back to work there, and one thing I see a lot is with the young adults, school.
Yes, that's a big one.
We've got to get him ready really quick, or we've got to get her ready really quick because next semester's coming up, or the fall semester is starting. We've really got, because dad has gone to the school, his dad went to the school, or both mom and dad went to the school, and they have envisioned that their son or their daughter is going to continue on. It's like they've created their life for them without even really realizing that they're trying to map out an individual's life that may not be their journey.
Right.
And I can tell you, without a solid foundation, the school's going down the drain, the job's going down the drain. And it just may not be that guy's journey or that girl's journey of where they're supposed to be, or where the universe and where God has them headed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like the world's a storm. The world around us is a storm. It's like, if you can just think about that, it's pretty stormy out here. Life's going to hit you, and it's going to hit you hard, with or without drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Tough times come. And they want them to hurry up and get well, and what that is like they're slacking on the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And just like a house with a crappy foundation, it may hold up for a little while. It may look pretty. You can ride by it in the neighborhood and be like, oh, that's a really beautiful home. It looks great. But the foundation isn't solid, and those storms of life come about. It may hold up one or two storms.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, those storms of life are going to rip that house down. And the same thing with an addicted one,
Mm-hmm.
you know? It can't stand. It just can't stand. But you've seen a lot of people coming from 30 days, 60 day, 90 day. You've been to 30, 60, 90 days,
Yes.
all three?
Yes.
What do you see differently of people that are completing Burning Tree that you will never see in a 30, 60, or 90-day treatment program?
Mm-hmm.
What do you see?
Sure. I mean, true transformation. The person who came in to Burning Tree, day one, is a completely different person that leaves at the end of their stay. They have worked through difficult emotions. They have worked through different, habits and behaviors for a significant period of time where it has become consistent for them. And again, they are living in integrity. They want to be sober. They want to take the action to be sober. Just a completely different person. And I can speak of it, just from who I was when I came into Burning Trees. I was a shell of a human. I did not want to keep living the way I was living, but I didn't know how to not do that. I was afraid to make connections with others, so anxious, uncomfortable in my own skin, confused about what was going on. And, when I left Burning Tree, when I graduated Burning Tree, the program,
How long did that take for you to graduate?
I was 13 months inpatient, residential, and then I got extended in aftercare. And so I was 13 months aftercare.
Right.
Yeah, so a little over 2 years.
It's 2 years to
Yes.
totally complete the program.
Yes, just about. And it's completely progress-based. I show up, or I showed up in all the 30, 60, 90-day programs as someone who is very compliant. I follow the rules. I show up well in group. And so luckily, Burning Tree, there's the gift of time so that at some point I can no longer show up with these walls and these guards up that I've built, my entire life. They start to get broken down. Now, had I been at a, 90-day program or 6-month program, I probably could have just sailed through that under the radar. But at Burning Tree, you're unable to do that.
And you said a mouthful right there with the progress base.
Yes.
It is truly progress based, not time based.
Yes.
When I walked in, there was no discharge date.
That's right.
That, you're going to tell real quick whether you're compliant or surrendered. 90 days, do that on my head.
That's right.
I'll be the best client. I mean, I was the floor leader in one program. It was 30 days. I knew I was going to be out in 30 days. I was the floor leader. I'm like, man, I'm somebody.
Yep.
I'm somebody.
Yes.
I'm a floor leader in a rehab,
Right.
But
Yes.
yet I'm thinking I'm somebody.
Yep.
Because I know when I'm going to get out, and I'll be compliant. Compliance does not equal surrender. And when you're in a program like that with no discharge date, totally progress based, that is a true gift.
It is.
And it's not comfortable for those of us that go there. It's like I never know when I'm getting out, but they know when I stop asking. When am I leaving? When am I going to phase 2? That some progress is being made, and that's true surrender.
Yes, exactly.
But that's tough. It's tough. It's tough on families. It's tough on everyone to be in a program that doesn't have a discharge date, that is strictly progress based. And look, let's just be honest here. There's a lot of people that can't pull off Burning Tree. And you're very open about that. Y'all are very transparent about that. You'll be the first to say it. Hey, we're not for everybody.
Right.
And so there's most of the families out here can't experience the luxury and the gift of a progress-based treatment center. They're going to, insurance-driven or dependent, or, they can only pull off 90 days or 60 days or 30 days. So while the treatment program can't be progress-based, the family can assume the mindset of that their interaction and their engagement with their loved one is going to be progress-based.
That's right.
And I truly believe, like you're talking about, you were there almost 2 years. You were inpatient for 13 months. Now, I left early. I walked out at 2 weeks shy of a year because they wanted to send me when Burning Tree had a program in Austin. They wanted to, I knew that they were going to be sending me to Dallas. And I'm like, I ain't doing that. That was Self-Will Run Riot. But it was what was supposed to happen for me, I guess.
Right.
But, I still went to sober living for 6 months after that, and then rented a room from another sober guy for another 6 months. So, it takes that time. But, I got to experience what freedom felt like while I was in treatment.
Yes.
And, I got to experience what true sobriety felt like. And I was still a mess now. I'm talking, a little over 16 years into this thing. And, 5 years ago, I thought I had it all figured out. And then now I'm looking back at 5 years ago, I'm like, what the hell was I thinking?
Right.
I just went off to Kentucky to bridge the recovery and did some deeper work last month. And damn, I was a mess. Turns out, walking around here thinking I'm all spiritual and all, thinking I'm just super sober, super sober.
Right.
I was a mess. Poor boundaries in my work-life relationship. There's so much to uncover and for true transformation. You're just not looking for sobriety. Y'all are pushing for transformation.
Right.
And I think Burning Tree, the bottom of my soul, it is to think that, over 16 years into this deal, there really, honest to God, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about something that happened to me at Burning Tree. So we're going to close with this. What was your favorite thing of Burning Tree?
Good question. I would say, and, I'll talk about how my life is today, which is the relationships that I've built in Burning Tree and that community. They are still very close friendships to me today as sisters and brothers, and still very much so a part of my life. And when I look back at Burning Tree, I am so grateful for that. But I would also say, my favorite part about Burning Tree, when I think about it, I think of, and this is maybe just because I'm 11 years past, but I think of the joy that I had with the people I was in treatment with, how much we laughed, how I learned to be happy, sober, how I learned to walk through uncomfortability, sober, how I was able to persevere. It's a very difficult program. How I was able to work through things, I never wanted to talk about. So when I look back on my experience, I am just incredibly, incredibly grateful. Now, had you asked me when I was a client, my answer would have been so different. Yeah. Until a certain point of time, maybe 11, 12 months down the line, my answer may have been similar because I was different at that point. But I would say that's my favorite thing to think about. How's
your relationship with your family now?
Oh, amazing, amazing. We are very close. I talk to them almost every day. My mom is actually, hanging out with my two kids right now. We just went to a water park, trip on a vacation together. So we are so close. And 11 years ago, I tore my family apart. And today, how my family is, everyone is healed, in different ways. And once they did a lot of, they did family therapy. I am so grateful that you offer resources to families just like this and other resources that you have, because it is hard to do this alone, as a family member and being on the other side, and support is needed. And, and speaking of Burning Tree, our clinical team is supporting the family every step of the way.
I didn't really know that while I was there of how much they're doing that. but they were doing that.
Yes.
My mom was a totally different person on the phone.
Yes.
Totally different from the get-go. Totally different. Even my dad, the old softy, that was the last holdout.
Right.
Like, they worked on them.
Yes.
They worked on them.
Yes.
Olivia, thank you so much for coming here today and being a part of this show and coming all the way from Kaufman, Texas. We'd love to have you back. It was great. Your wisdom and your experience. Certainly do appreciate it. The honor was all mine.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. That's it for us, guys. Again, this episode is brought to you by Burning Tree Recovery Ranch. It's where I got sober, and it's where she got sober. And it's for the reluctant to recover. True, authentic, long-term, inpatient, progress-based treatment program for the reluctant to recover. Link will be in the description, and we're going to see you next time. We're out.